So I want to follow up a bit on the comments from Councilmember Rice talking about schools. He and I have been talking about this issue a bit more. It's very concerning. The status quo path that we're on, I think we all have to ask ourselves if the level of viral transmission that we have today supports reopening MCPS. And if it doesn't, what are we going to do to change that? And I think we're all hoping that the steps that we've taken along the way would have more effect than they are having. But hope is not a plan. And right now, the schools are going to, the theoretical reopening of schools is late January. But what is going to change between now and then that's going to support driving the viral transmission numbers downward? What are we going to say in January? Are we implicitly saying that we think the schools could reopen under the current level of transmission? Or are we saying that it needs to be lower? We've got to start thinking about this more because January is right around the corner. It's going to be here. And I think we could all, I would hope we'd all agree. I know Councilmember Rice certainly does as well, that if there's one thing we've got to do, it's help our kids get back to school. And the possibility that we'll be here, absent something that could happen, which is that in the winter, there's just a huge explosion of transmission. That's a possibility. But, if you assume it's the status quo, I don't know what the right assumption is. What are we going to do? Because it isn't the level that Dr. Gayles said, moderate to low. And I point out, as I have in the past, that New York has lower transmission than we do. Their transmission is less than half ours. And even they're having trouble. I mean, the school system in the city wants to reopen. They've had to postpone that reopening. It's not even easy at that level. So I just think, we have got to figure out what path we're on. I am concerned. I'm comforted a bit by Dr. Stoddard. You said that each performance will need its own plan. That is, certainly there could be more controls in that. But I really am worried that we're on this path of gradual reopening. We're painting ourselves into a corner. And then we're going to have to decide, what do we do? Do we either send our kids back to school with the virus at its level, or do we just keep them home for the rest of the year? And that's a really difficult position for us to be in. So first of all, we need to talk about it more. Councilmember Rice and I have been talking about having some joint conversations with the board and the school system and the teachers. We need to really get honest here and be transparent with ourselves so that we can make a tough decision, whatever that might be. And I repeat, I wish I knew what, I'm sure Dr. Gayles wishes, but what would it take for us to get to the New York level? I think that's a question we have to really start asking. I heard Dr. Gayles say last week that they're beginning to prepare contingency plans for what happens if the viral transmission rises, which is possible. So, Dr. Gayles, I'll just turn it to you if you'd like to make any comments about reopening schools, or Dr. Stoddard, the path that we're on, what do we need to know as we look down the road here in the next couple months?